welcome back to another Pals and Paws live webinar. Today I'm here with Sassy and we're going to be working on learning stand and off. So stand and off are both very useful, even though they are pretty straightforward. They're not always the easiest thing to teach. But what's nice about both stand and off is that they're very useful and have really great everyday practical purposes. So for stand, it really comes in handy when grooming a dog or examining them. So if you take your animal to the vet and they know the stand command, that is really helpful for the vet whenever they need them in a standing position, or same thing at the groomer, makes it a little bit easier to handle your animal and tell them to go into a nice neutral position when wanted. And off is another thing that a lot of dog owners should work on with their animals at home, because most dogs do have a tendency to jump up on people or furniture, or are just intrigued by things that we might not necessarily want them to be giving attention or trying to get at. So that really comes in handy if you have people coming into your home or your dog is very intrigued by jumping up on things. So using off can be really, really important. So we'll start with teaching stand, and the best way to do that is to have the dog sit first and foremost, because Sassy's already standing, so I want her to sit. Good girl. I'm giving her a treat for sitting. And now to get her into a standing position, I'm just going to slowly lure her by putting the treat right in front of her nose and saying, stand. Good. So now she's on all four paws. So sit. And we're just going to do this kind of practice a couple of times. Actually, come here. Sassy, sit. Stand. Good girl. And it's hard, but I want to try and not have her take that step forward. I really just want her butt to come off the ground and have her standing on all four paws in that neutral position. We don't want her to think that she's getting the reward for taking a step with her paw. We want her to understand that it's standing on all four that's getting the reward. So that's really tricky, and that can be done as part of the lure. So Sassy, stand. Good girl. So that's close enough. It can be really hard to avoid them making that first step, but eventually I'm going to raise my expectations and only reward her for standing and not stepping. Stand. Good girl. Just catching on quick. Also, you don't want to hold the treat up high, so sit. If I say Sassy, stand, and the treat is up here, her attention's all the way up here, and she might try to, jump at the treat. So that's not what I want her to do. Same thing, I don't want to hold it too far down low, because then she'll probably go into a down and follow it that way. So sit, I want to hold it right at her nose level, or the dog's nose level, and then pull it out straight forward. Sassy, stand. Good girl. And try not to pull it too far, because that'll cause them to take that step forward. But overall, she really caught on to that quickly. And once the animal starts mastering stand, we can kind of play a little game and alternate between doing it from a sit to a down. So Sassy, sit, down, if you know down. Good girl. Stand, stand, almost, stand. She's probably used to doing it from a sit, so that's why I would want to introduce having her go from a down into the stand directly. And then we can kind of just alternate randomly between sit, down, and stand to really help her master those commands. Sassy, sit, down. Can you go down? Let's try one more time and then we'll work on off. Down, down. She's like, I'm confused. You wanted me to stand a minute ago. Down, down. Good girl. Good girl. I'll give her a treat for that now. Stand. Good girl. Close enough. She just learned this today, so that's pretty good to catch on that quick. But let's work on off next, which can be somewhat tricky. It takes a lot of consistency when teaching an animal off. And obviously we don't want to encourage Sassy to jump up on me or on the table. So a way that you can teach off and get the dog to do something that we don't want is just hold the treat right here. And I'm going to tell her off, off, and Do not let her eat this treat that I'm tempting her with. I have another treat behind my back, and as soon as she leaves it alone, then good girl, take it. Then I'm going to give her the treat with my other hand. That way she's understanding that she's getting rewarded for leaving the tempting thing, alone. Because often when a dog jumps up on people or on the furniture, they're really trying to get attention. That's what their goal is when they jump up on things. So if you give them any attention by pushing them off of you, kind of kneeing them or poking them to make them uncomfortable, that's actually going to reinforce that behavior and have the opposite effect. You don't want to push the animal away from you if they are seeking attention, because pushing them is still giving that attention, and really it's not the humane way to teach an animal anyway. So if Sassy were jumping up on me, might be hard to get her to do, because like I said, we don't want to necessarily encourage this, but if she were jumping up on me, I would turn my back right away, cross my arms, and say off. Because now I'm ignoring her, I'm just saying off the one time, so she's not getting verbal reinforcement, and she's not getting any attention. She's not getting what she would want in that situation. So once she would jump down off of me, that's when I would praise her, good girl, good off. And make sure you're only giving praise when all 4 paws are on the ground. So, let's see. Sassy is being so good, it might be hard to see this in practice, but let's see if we can get her to leave this alone. Off. 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 No. Off. Good girl, take this. Good girl. So remember, I'm using my other hand. I'm not giving her the thing that she was distracted by. And let's see, I think we covered most things. Like I said, you never want to touch the animal or push them. That's reinforcing the behavior. It's really important to simply turn in the opposite direction, fold your arms, say off. Also, you don't want to say down, right? Down is its own command. Down is when we go into a sit and then lie down. Down. Good girl. So this is down. If I tell her, or it's hard for you guys to see, but that, oh, she got up. But when they're on the ground, that's down. All 4 paws on the ground after jumping is off. So make sure that you don't confuse those two, because that'll confuse the animal. Use down to tell them to lie down and off to tell them to stop jumping. Let's see. Also, when you're praising them after down or stand, you want to keep your voice nice and calm. You don't want to be super excited. So if Sassy were jumping up on me and I yelled, oh, off, 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 I'm kind of sending mixed signals there, right? If I'm really loud, excited, and animated about it, that might actually cause the dog to become more energetic and enthusiastic. So you really want to be nice and calm. Just say off in a firm tone and then praise them. Very simple. Just be like, good girl, Sassy. Not good girl, ho, and high squeaky voice. That'll just overexcite them again. So make sure you're keeping your voice even and calm. And jumping on things and teaching a dog off is kind of reversing the bad habit of jumping. So you really have to be patient and consistent. If your dog does have that bad habit and jumps on counters, furniture, people, you really need to make sure the whole family understands that everyone needs to cross their arms, turn their back, and say off. Never reinforce that jumping behavior. Because if one person isn't following the training protocol, the dog will keep up the bad habit of jumping. And eventually, as they catch on and do really well with each family member in the household, you can have them practice with some strangers, friends, neighbors, people who don't come over as often, because that's really the real test, is if they jump on someone who comes to your house as a guest, then that's the most likely scenario. So if you can practice with a friend that comes over once in a while, that's ideal. But really you want to get them to understand the command with the family first, and make sure the family understands the command as well. So let's try this one more time. Sassy. So I'm going to tempt her with this treat. And she's good. Off. There you go. Good girl. Take it. So I don't think she'll jump up on me, but if she did jump on me or jump on the furniture, I would lure her off the furniture. And then once she has all 4 paws on the ground, is nice and calm, that's when she gets the reward. Stand. Good girl. So she learned stand pretty well, and she doesn't seem to have that habit of jumping on things too much. So she did really, really well today. But once again, this is both of these commands are something that you want to be really consistent with and practice with your dog on a regular basis because they have such practical purposes, like when you take them to the groomer or vet, or making sure they have nice manners when people come over. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I did want to also mention that I had a Girl Scout named Courtney send me a book that she made, and it's all about positive reinforcement dog training. So I will log on to Facebook in a minute here after I put Sassy away. She's finding my treats, and you guys can check out her online book that talks about basics for dog training, which I thought was a great resource, and she did such a great job. So thank you, Courtney, for encouraging people to train at home and use positive reinforcement training techniques. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Sassy had a great time, I think. Yeah. Oh, that's a good girl. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Kisses. Kisses. Say bye-bye.